We do not this evening.
Okay, so, consent agenda is approval of personnel action, authorization to change appropriation and to accept and expend funds in accordance with the attached request, approval of minutes of February's regular meeting and closed meeting, approval of minutes of March's public hearing on budget, approval of minutes of closed sessions held on March 24th, 28th, and March 31st. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. And a second?
Second.
Ms. Reimers?
Mr. Holcomb?
Aye.
Ms. Hessel?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheeler?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, other matters for consideration. Item A, consideration of approval of special education plan school year 2020 through 2021. Dr. Parrish.
Yes, what you have here is the special education plan that we bring to you each year, and the date for submission did not change on this, so we needed to get it to you now. It does outline how we're allocating the funds that we do receive through the grant funding that we receive from the feds that then passes through the state to us. So I recommend with this approval of the plan as presented to you this evening.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the special education plan?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Anybody have questions, comments there? Ms. Reimers?
Mr. Holcomb?
Aye.
Ms. Hessel?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheeler?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Item B, consideration of approval of second reading of changes to the policy manual. Dr. Parrish.
Yes, so what you have here, you saw these in first reading back in our meeting, I believe actually in February. These are some of the policies that we needed to make some tweaks to so that they aligned with our practice and also with changes that have been made to state regulations. Also, as you may remember in February, I told you that I wanted to make sure that I went through to make sure we were as up-to-date on policy as possible. So when your new superintendent starts July 1, that won't be a project for the new superintendent. So with that said, you've already had them in first reading. I recommend you approve the policy changes as presented this evening.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved. And a second? Second. Any questions, comments there? Ms. Reimers?
Mr. Holcomb?
Aye.
Ms. Hessel?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheeler?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next item is consideration of approval of suspension of school resolution. And this is a little different than most of the resolutions that we have. This is in reference to the superintendent of public instruction announcing that numerous regulatory requirements will be waived as authorized by Executive Order 51. And it goes through various actions by state and federal officials that are waiving some of the policies, some of the criteria for the typical school year. So what this resolution is doing, and I'll read it to you, it says Poquoson City School Board directs the superintendent to suspend only those regulations that are directly connected to such policies or provisions within policies which reflect legal and/or regulatory requirements that have been waived by the government authority which enacted those requirements. And the Poquoson City School Board will comply with temporary laws and regulations without enacting policies to implement those laws and regulations. And it says that by us voting to approve this, it is conclusive evidence of the Poquoson City School Board's approval of the actions within this resolution. So with that being said, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And the second?
Second.
Any questions or comments there?
Yes, what exactly does this entail, basically?
So basically, because what we've had waived our accreditation requirements for this year,
Okay.
connected to the fact too that USDOE waived the need for us to do the required assessments, which for us are the SOL tests, so they
Okay.
were waived as well. Also for graduation requirements, there's some waiving has occurred by the state superintendent, but also the General Assembly is coming to Richmond tomorrow, and we are anticipating them waiving some of the regulations or requirements that they have in code so that we can continue to graduate our students and take some other steps in the schools. So what you're doing is allowing us to waive the policy that's connected to the waivers that have been done by either the state government or the federal government or Department of Education's, so that we can go ahead and enact what's being recommended that we enact from VDOE. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Thank you,
And then
yes.
in there too, you gave permission for if we have regulations that are directly connected to your policy, that those can be waived, but it clearly states that only those regulations connected to the policy, connected to what the federal and state levels have done. So I just want you to know I won't run rampant and start breaking policies and regulations. They're all directly connected to what has been waived and what we fully anticipate will be waived by the General Assembly tomorrow.
Any other questions, comments? Ms. Reimers?
Holcomb?
Aye.
Ms. Hessel? Aye. Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheeler?
Aye.
Aye. Next is communications of the matters for school board. Ms. Nelson, would you like to kick us off? I'm sorry, we'll start with Dr. Parrish tonight. How about that?
All right.
For a change.
Well, thank you, because I do have some comments I want to share. First of all, I want to thank you, board members, because you made the decision to purchase the signs that were planted in all of our seniors' yards today. So thank you very much, recognizing them as graduating in 2020 and that we're in it together, and then with hashtag One Team, One Dream, which is what the hashtags we've used for the high school this year. So we even got to see some students who came out to see the signs as they were being planted in the yards, and I will tell you the bus drivers and the teachers that did the delivery were very excited. So it was a great moment, so thank you, and we'll find some other ways to spotlight our seniors as we move through the coming weeks. I do want to remind you and anybody watching that we still have graduation scheduled for June 12th because it's outside of the June 10th window, but as soon as we learn more as to whether or not the order will be extended, then we will look at seeing if it's possible to move graduation further into the summer so we can do it in person. And if that is just not going to be able to happen, we may look at doing something virtually. But I just want to reassure you and our community members at home that we're watching everything that we need to watch so we can make the best decision we can for our seniors in graduation. So, and we continue to update our FAQs on our website. There's one specific to graduation, so if you check that, you would know if we had changed anything with regard to it, and we date our FAQs when we go to change them, so people would know that. Also, you did receive public comment. We opened up public comment via email, and the comments could be sent to the school board clerk, Mrs. Reimers, up until 5 o'clock today. So you have in front of you an email that was sent to her from a Dr. Timothy Gooddale, who lives at 6 Heron Circle in Poquoson. He had a number of questions about our current online program as we're teaching it now. Also had some questions, concerns addressed with what we might do in the summer or as we start the next school year. So Dr. Fox is going to give him a call because some of his questions are things that we're actually doing, but parents wouldn't necessarily know we're doing it because it's the behind the scenes work. And certainly some of the conversations we've had about what we might do as summer school and into the next year being held. But until we know when schools are able to open up, we can't make any concrete decisions. So we're hoping to run a summer school program, but if schools aren't enabled to be open during the course of the summer, we won't be able to run one. So I just want everybody to know that right now we really depend on the governor's orders to determine what we'll be able to do for summer school and then into the future. So, but we will get back with him and provide answers to his questions because, as I said, most of them are being addressed as we're doing the work. So, other thing I want to talk about briefly is budget. As I know you're not surprised, we did receive some information in terms of what the governor has recommended that be done with the state budget. And what he's done is actually created a category of some items that are being labeled unallocated. So the first one is the compensation that was included in the state budget for next year. Remember, it was enough funding to do a 2% raise for SOQ-funded positions, but certainly we had put in the budget to fund all of our positions, which meant local dollars would have to do the rest into that 2% raise. So in doing the unallocated, it means at this point, he's recommending that the raise is not done, but if something happens and the economy turns around better than people might think it was and the money is there, then they could reallocate the money. But what we're working off right now is the fact that we're not going to see the funding to support the 2% compensation increase that was in his budget and in the General Assembly's budget when it was passed. Also, a couple of categorical items have become unallocated as well. One category, though, that is definitely been removed from the budget, there was additional funding because the ratio of school counselors to students was lowered, which means people would potentially need more school counselors. So that ratio now will stay where it was as we came into this school year, and there won't be funding allocated for that. Another issue to be aware of, too, is in the information that we received from him, there is no mention of sales tax, which does obviously help fund our budget. So when the General Assembly comes into town tomorrow, they will look at his budget recommendations, and then we'll need to reapprove a budget. So it could be that there's some estimate of what sales tax could look like next year, but I think that's very challenging for obvious reasons when we're not sure, when our economy will go back to some state of normalcy in the state of Virginia and across the country. But we will get a calculation tool after the General Assembly completes its work, which I suspect will be done quickly this week, we hope. The information we got from the governor did not include a calculation tool, so I can't give you a detailed explanation of what it all means for our budget, and won't be able to do that till we get that calculation tool. So once we get that, then I will have Ms. Woodruff will run the numbers, and then I'll be able to get the information to you, and we will have to bring you back together to approve a new budget. I talked to the city manager, Mr. Wheeler, and so he's well aware of what's occurred with the governor's budget. I've indicated again, we're not asking for anything more than level funding. We're not going to now go and ask for additional funding because our budget's being reduced, and likely I think the General Assembly will support those reductions. So we will just need to notify him and City Council once we've completed our work, but it's not impacting the initial request that we had for level funding. As far as sales tax go, there's a big unknown of what that's going to mean for us in the coming year, but there's also the unknown of what it means for us right now. So we get our sales tax revenue 2 months in the rears. So in May, we're actually going to get the funding from the sales tax revenue from March. So as you can imagine, what was originally predicted for March is going to look different from what it actually is now. And then again, in June, we'll get this month's. So do know that we are fully anticipating a decrease in the sales tax revenue that we were projected to get this year. But I think I've mentioned to you, but I want to share again that we are tracking some savings. Certainly utilities in our buildings, we'll see a savings there because we're not running all the HVAC systems, fully, but since we don't have people consistently in the buildings. Substitutes, we obviously don't have a need for substitute teachers or substitute nurses or substitute paraeducators because we don't have the actual classes going on in the building. So Mrs. Woodruff is very carefully tracking where we're seeing any savings, and we have been pretty conservative now in our spending since everything hit in March. So I say this to you because we will be okay, even though we anticipate the reduction. I will tell you a big thank you to the city manager and city council, because at this point, all indication is that they will maintain our funding this year as they had promised to do. In some localities, we are seeing where local governments are having to say their school divisions that they're going to have to reduce their funding to them because they're being hit so badly by what's occurring in their counties or cities right now. So the short story is we will be good this year, even though we know we're going to see a reduction in funding. And as soon as I get the calculation tool, I will make recommendations to you. I can say to you clearly, if there's not money for a 2% compensation increase, it's very likely that we are not going to be able to do a 2% compensation increase as we move into next year, because we rely on some of that funding coming from the state. So any questions on the budget before I go to the last topic? Well, thank you very much, and I've used the word fluid a lot in the last 6 weeks to 2 months, so I continue to use that word. Budget is fluid, but I'm hoping that at least by early next week, we might have some concrete answers. I will tell you, though, that we fully anticipate that it might be the General Assembly, even in August or September, comes back, because they may do another reforecast on the budget once things have opened up again. So it may be that you will need to make some changes to your budget next year, and what I may look at trying to do is trying to build a budget that gives you a little flexibility into next year, so if things get better, there might be some things you can do. If they get worse, you'll be okay with it as presented, but I'll talk to you about that once we get it developed. So I do want to take this time publicly, because I hope there's a few people watching, since we're all in our houses right now, to thank folks. We launched, as you know, the fourth quarter on Wednesday of last week, and I could not be more proud of everybody in our school division that's helped to make that a success for us. We've got our IT folks and our instructional staff that got teachers trained how to teach in the virtual world, in a week. We had teachers who came in to identify the essential skills and knowledge that we needed to teach this spring, because we knew we couldn't teach everything we normally teach, so we could get that to teachers so they could lesson plan. Our IT staff has worked tirelessly to make sure the IT works, to get all of the Chromebooks and the iPads distributed, keeping in mind we distributed over 800 technology devices, and we're still distributing some even now as families realize they really do need another device in their home. Our bus drivers have been doing incredible work with our food distribution. Again, we're doing that Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If anybody's watching, that information is on our website as to where and what times. Our food service folks have been planning and creating the meals that we're distributing, so that our children in Poquoson have meals for 7 days a week. And it is for children in Poquoson. They do not have to be students enrolled in our school system, so they can be young ones we don't have yet, or perhaps students that attended other schools that weren't enrolled in our school division. Needless to say, our administrators and clerical staff have been leading and supporting our efforts, and are constantly in touch with our teachers, trying to support them to do the work they're doing. And we are engaging our paraeducators this week. They're going through professional development this week, and then we'll be supporting our teachers in instruction in some other ways as we move into next week. So we've had to sort of tear our way through it and get the things we needed to get done first, and then move on to some of the other employee groups. So that's why our paraeducators really, we are able to engage them this week. So I just want you to know that it's incredible what our teachers and everybody else has done to get school up and running, and still hearing quite a bit of positive feedback about how it's going. If I see anybody who I know has children, I ask them, because I can't go into the classroom to see what they're doing, but so that I get a sense of any questions or concerns they might have. But anyways, you just need to know that PCPS employees are just, we've always known they're incredible. I'm using the term extraordinary people because we are in extraordinary times, and it takes extraordinary people to do what they need to do what they can for our students, and they have more than stepped up to the plate. So I'll keep you posted as we move through, but I wanted you to know how proud and excited I was, and hope you feel the same way. So, and those are my comments for tonight.
I really can't top that at all. Yes, and thank you, Dr. Parrish, and really thank you and the school board office, all the principals and teachers. It's, from what I've been hearing so far, everything's going very smooth with the virtual learning. So thanks for everything.
I wanted to thank Dr. Goodale for submitting the request for some questions that he answered to address regarding the VDOE. We do recommend feedback from our community, and if there are questions, submit that material for board review, and we'll certainly have a great school board staff to get those questions answered. Also, it's been really a good experience to kind of be around the community and see the impact of Chromebooks and the impact that $50,000 educational foundation not only raised, and a lot of that effort was hitting the pavement, making phone calls, going door to door. Ladies like our president, Judy McCormick, Pat Kimsey, Deb Pummel, Gail Wojciechowski, and the likes of so many others. There's a lot of time, energy, and effort that goes in, and that's strictly a volunteer basis. So kudos to the Educational Foundation and all the good work that they do. Their fundraiser has been moved to the summer sometime. I believe it is still on schedule as of right now. We'll get back to you next meeting with an actual date. But so many of our local businesses and private donors and contributors right here in the community paved the way for that opportunity. I also wanted, at having a student in the school system currently, even if you don't feel like it's getting the Chromebooks is not strictly a need-based thing. My wife and I have found out is that the functionality of having that Chromebook makes it a lot easier, especially for a young student, to kind of maneuver through the day-to-day activities. So I'd encourage anyone that might not have one. We still have remaining Chromebooks available. It's a quick form to fill out. Call the school board office. And Ms. Topping and the likes of so many others upstairs can prepare. I actually had curbside delivery. She delivered it right to my car yesterday. So thanks so much.
Hard to top all of that. I am particularly excited, though, about the signs going in the yard, since I'm surrounded by a couple of different seniors that I've been watching grow up. Brilliant idea. Thank you, Dr. Parrish.
Again, I'll just leave by saying thanks to the parents. I don't think I looked as closely at the stress this would cost the parents till it happened. My children, of course, are older, so it's a bit easier for them to kind of navigate the computers and the virtual learning. But just hang in there. I know it's difficult, especially if you have two essential workers out of the house during the day. It's a difficult time, but it will pass. We're doing the best we can to kind of cut down what's essential for you to do. And I think so far what I've heard is the parents have really stepped up and tried to find creative ways to get this stuff done and are doing a good job. So this school the schools we have in Poquoson, they're really because of course, the teachers, the administrators, but really the parents have always played a big part in what we do. And so thank you guys for hanging in there and just hang in there a few more months and we'll get this behind us, we hope. So good job.
And I don't usually do this and interrupt you all, but I do wanted to add that we're getting as many parent resources as we can on our website too, and actually trying to create some videos that would help. So I do encourage parents to go to, and once you get to the COVID-19 webpage, you'll see that there. So thank you for saying that, because I know it's a struggle, especially if you've got 4 children and 4 classes going simultaneously. So thanks.
Heard of parents, actually, just one more thing. Heard of parents that have done split shifts now. We're working 2 shifts, so one can stay home and do the teaching. So it's been fun. So good job. Good job.
Yeah, I just want to thank the administration and the teachers for being able to adapt to these times and being able to learn the technology so quickly and distribute it out to the students and, allowing them to continue learning.
I just want to thank the teachers for all their hard work in getting the curriculum online. That's vital, and they have absolutely knocked it out of the park. I have a high schooler, and their stuff every day, and they're doing just a fantabulous job in this crazy environment. I'd also like to thank you, Dr. Parrish, for the idea with the signs for our seniors. I have one across the street from me, and I saw the man today go stick in the yard, and it's kind of, lifted me up. Right in my day, I can't imagine how much the seniors were impacted by it, so that was really great to see, and just thank you for everybody keeping on.
I'll wrap it up by, of course, saying thanks. The school system, the leadership in the community, the citizens, and students always seem to step up to the plate and, like Mr. Freeman said, knock it out of the park. So kudos to everybody. Was there a media release about us putting the signs in the yard for the seniors?
No, but a reporter did catch it. I think somebody did reach out, and so there is running at some point tonight. It might be while we're talking. There is a story on Channel 3, but if anybody wants to see a lot of the pictures and some of the video, go onto the Poquoson School's Twitter feed and also on our Instagram account. We did a lot of photography this morning. It was fun. So even some video.
Thanks to everybody who's pitching in and making this thing work. Any material for board review?
None this evening.
That we will adjourn. Thank you.